This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined by Matt Macklin. We're here at the Usyk-Bellew final press conference in Manchester. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, good, mate. Looking forward to the fights now. All the last formalities out the way now, promotionally wise. Weigh-in tomorrow and then all the fights Saturday. But really looking forward to it. Good card, and particularly looking forward to the main event.
Let's just start at the main event, work our way down. Alexander Usyk versus Tony Bellew. Undisputed cruiserweight titles are on the line. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, great fight. I mean, I think Tony summed it up, didn't he? He said he brings the belts, I'll bring the money, and that's true. You know, Usyk, #1 in the division. Bellew was the #1 in the division before he stepped up to heavyweight to challenge David Haye. But you know, Bellew's kind of the star here. You know, he's the one with the huge profile. He's the one who's bringing the millions. Usyk has earned money, good money in the World Super Series, but this is you know, he couldn't fought anyone. He couldn't have made a defence against anyone else in such a lucrative fight, and it's a proper fight. Tony Bellew believes in himself, absolutely. He's always game and gutsy. He can bang, and his confidence has never been higher. You know, and he was going to retire, so he's at that point where he's got nothing to lose. You know, there's no pressure on him really. It's a great fight. I mean, you'd have to be careful listening to Tony Bellew because he'd sway you, wouldn't he? You know, he'd get you believing in him, and I believe he's underrated. I think his boxing intelligence, etc., is underrated. I think I don't think he's going to go out there gung ho. I think he'll be quite calculated. I think he'll be looking to sort of maybe back off, trying to draw Usyk in. I think he'll be trying to set traps. That, you know, and I think that's what he was alluding to when he was alluding to. I think they've got some good game plans here. I think they're working on several little things, little traps they're probably trying to set, and it's just whether or not he can execute them. Because Usyk, for me, is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He's technically brilliant, very skillful. He's agile. He's an athlete. Very, very experienced amateur, and he's looked sensational as a professional. And he's the younger man. So, certainly a lot less miles on the clock, much more hunger in the belly because, like I said, Tony's done it all. But so it's a great fight. It's an intriguing matchup. You know, I hope Tony can do it, but you know, taking emotion out of it and everything like that, I have to go with Usyk.
Now, you mentioned that Tony's talked about retirement after this fight. He is absolutely certain that that is going to be the case. Somebody as yourself, you were a fighter, and then you wound down your career and ultimately retired. The conventional saying is once a fighter starts talking about retirement, they're already retired. Is there an element of that in this fight, do you think? Yeah, definitely. I do think this probably is... you know, if he was to win, would he retire? Don't know. You know, who knows then? You know, if he wins and he looks great and he feels great and he gets the win, I mean, it'd be a fairy tale ending. It'd be the way to. It would be a great thing to do, but it's difficult because then I'll imagine, you know, is it close? Is there a rematch? Is it another huge money spinner? I mean, it's pretty addictive sitting up there and everyone, you know, having that feeling, and you know, this is what you've dreamed of. This is so you get there and you're still performing and you're still making loads of money. I mean, who wants to stop doing that? But you know, if he was to lose, it's still almost a perfect exit strategy because you go out at the top in the biggest fight of your life against challenging one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. You know, you're not going to get too many better ways to go out on. So I think it probably will be his last fight. Okay, well, elsewhere on the card, we've got Ricky Burns versus Usyk-Bellew. Kind of both guys in sort of last chance saloon, really. I don't think either man can afford a loss on their ledger. What about that fight?
Yeah, I think it's a must win for both guys. I think loss would be disastrous for both men. Certainly Ricky Burns at this stage of his career, I'm surprised he's still fighting. I look at him and I'm amazed really that he still has the hunger in his belly to point himself through the training camps and to still get through the fights and to get up for fights that probably, I don't know how he gets up for fights that, you know, when he's fought the likes of Terence Crawford and these guys, I wonder how does he do it? I mean, fair play to him, but I know I certainly struggled in the end getting up for fights against guys that I thought I probably wouldn't even have had sparring me a few years earlier. So it was difficult. I found it hard. I couldn't do it really. So I admire Ricky Burns that he can do that. But if he was to lose to Scott-Cardle, I think that would be the end of the road for him, and also for Scott-Cardle, he mentioned in the press conference that he probably isn't where he anticipated he would be 5 or 6 years into his professional career. If he was to lose, again, where does he go? He's kind of lost a couple of fights now. He's had a few not great performances, really. It looks like he levelled out at British title level, which that's no mean feat. But I just think that he reached his level. And if he was to lose to Ricky Burns, it'd be difficult to see where he would go. It's a must-win for both men.
Also, we've got Mancunian Anthony Crolla against David Jordan, WBA final eliminated for the world title. Anthony Crolla is another one who's kind of like Eddie alluded to it in the press conference. He's kind of like Benjamin Button-ish. He's kind of evergreen. Do you think Anthony Crolla still has that kind of final world title push in him?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what it is with that? And I trained alongside Anthony Crolla, and I didn't train along Ricky Burns, but I know Ricky a long time. He turned pro around the same time as me, I think even slightly before. But they're like the Ryan Giggses of boxing. They lived the life. I mean, for 10 weeks, I trained as hard as anyone, but then I partied as hard as anyone for 10 weeks after. So it's miles on the clock. You're burning the candle at both ends. I'd have been offended if someone told me I didn't live the life back then. I'd have bit their head off, but I didn't really in between fights. Like so many other fighters, Ricky Hatton and other. Yeah, Michael Gomez. Don't get me wrong. For 10 weeks, 3 months, whatever, before a fight, I trained like lunatics as hard as anyone, and sacrificed everything and isolated and did everything. But these guys like Anthony Crolla and Ricky Burns, who have that longevity and who have that real freshness to them, who keep going and going. They are your Ryan Giggses, they're your Gary Neville. They stay in the gym, they have a fight, they probably go on holiday with their girlfriend, and they get back in the gym. They live steady lives and they stay, and because of that, they've retained the freshness and they've aged well, And Crolla put on Ricky Burns. Crolla was a good fight. I thought Crolla definitely deserved the win. And the fight before that, he had 2 really good fights with Jorge Linares. And I know that the second one, Linares was really good and he was a convincing winner, but it was still a good fight. It was still a competitive fight, and I think there's still quite a bit left in Crolla. And if he wins this fight, it's a final eliminator for WBC title. He could get a shot against Lomachenko. So. He's someone that, as young fighters that have their setbacks, that's someone you've got to look at, Anthony Crolla. He lost a British title eliminator against Gary Sykes. Frank Warren gave him his contract back. And look how he turned his career around, and he's just gone from strength to strength to strength. And he's, massive admiration for Anthony Crolla.
They speak of living the life, or lack thereof. Dave Allen returns to the card this Saturday. Dave's somebody I know very well. Since the Nick Webb knockout, it seems to have gone another 180 in his career. Tell me about Dave Allen as he sort of tries to creep up to British title contention.
Well, he's probably learned on the job. As he said, when he fought these guys, I had 20 fights all in, amateur and pro, and he was tough enough and he was crafty enough that he could hang in there. They couldn't put him away, and he was competitive, but he was never doing enough to beat these guys. But I think as he's kind of developed and, he's got a bit more experience and his confidence has grown, he's thought, do you know what? I didn't really feel that out of my depth. If I took this a bit more seriously, I could, worked a little bit harder in the gym, and not just in terms of getting fit, but worked hard on the technique and tactics and skills and developing as a fighter. I could probably do something in this sport. In his last performance, I think it was his last performance in July at the O2 when he scored that knockout. The place erupted. It was brilliant, and he's a character. And boxing needs characters and always has done. And he's a heavyweight. That helps. So I hope his journey continues.
Okay, well, Matt Macklin, I've kept you for long enough. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Always a pleasure catching up with you. Look forward to seeing you for the rest of the week.
Nice one. Cheers.
Cheers, man.